and welcome again to one of my another webinars tonight. Today I'm going to talk about a very fundamental research question. Why are you doing your literature review? Right, this is a question that I think everyone as a researcher should ponder upon. If you are a PhD student, if you're doing your MPhil, or even if you're doing a product development, you need to undertake literature review, or you need to find out what has happened in the what is there in the literature for a specific topic. All right, that is the objective of today's session. If you have been following me, this video series that I'm doing every day in the month of March, I'm picking up various different topics related to research that are applicable to PhD scholars, MBA students. Basically, if you are in the university, you will get to learn something valuable through these research seminars, these webinars. These are some of the topics that I have covered in the past. And if you check out my YouTube channel, you will see all the videos that I have run this month. And each and every video is quite insightful. And I share my experience in these videos through my daily webinar. This is my YouTube channel. Please follow and subscribe to my channel for all the future videos that I will do. All right, so let's get into today's session, today's topic. And what I'm going to talk about today is why should you do a systematic literature review? So the main aspect is trying to understand why you need to do. And if you have this understanding, if you have this clarity, then it will make much more sense for you to understand and to get the maximum out of conducting a literature review. All right. So let's get started. So let's start with the first basic question. Why are you doing your literature review, right? So if you are starting your PhD, if you're starting your MPhil, or even if you want to doing a market research for your work, you have to do this first step, which is to undertake a literature review. So what does this really mean and why is it important? So to answer that, you have to first understand there is a specific reason for you to conduct a literature review. And if we think about it from a systematic literature review point of view, you have to have a research question. Yeah. And you're trying to answer that research question by doing a literature review. So the literature review has to have a direction in which it will progress, or it should take. So typically, when you formulate a research question for your literature review, this question aims to answer a specific challenge, a specific issue that you have. And this could be done as part of PhD program, or it could be done at work as well. If say, for example, you are working in a company and your manager or your reporting manager or boss tells you that, go and find out, we want to launch this new product in the market. Can you go do some market research and tell me what are the competitors doing? Or are there any competitors? Or if they are, what are their features, what they do, and what is it that we can do? So this is a practical example of where literature review can be used in industry. So to answer that question, what you need to do is so firstly you have the question here, right? You get my point? The question is, go find out who are the competitors in the market and what are their products doing, what are their features. So you have to answer this focused research question as part of your response when you're doing a lit review. So you have a guide stick that this is what I want to find out. At the end of the literature review, I should be able to answer this question that I was asked. Are there any products like this? Who are the competitors? What are their features? Tell me. Yeah. And also, where do these products lack something? Where is the need for doing some research? Yeah. So that could be the why. This is why you are doing a literature review. Okay. A lot of time I have seen, especially students who do not have strong research background and they come to undertake a PhD program, they are thinking that literature review is just part of research. They don't have this broader, bigger picture of why literature review is at the very start of your research. If you have that understanding of why literature review needs to be done at the very beginning, you will understand the real value of doing a lit review, and not only doing it, but doing it properly and doing it very, very thoroughly. Yeah. So the reason to do that is to understand what is the current market, current state of research. So if it is research that you are doing, you have to understand who else has done what, and not just who else has done what, but who else has done what to solve this problem, this research question that we have given or that we have identified. So that is a very specific research solution that you have to find. So what would you do for in that context? What you would do is you will go and find relevant literature on that particular topic. You will try to scan as much literature as possible to help you answer that question to the best possible way in the current date with the available resources. Now let's talk a bit about resources. When we are talking about a literature review, the typical belief or understanding or what is followed is looking at research literature in academia. Yeah, so this could be journal papers, conference papers, book chapters, and so on and so forth, right? Basically, pure academic journal. But one thing you have to remember is that there is other body of knowledge other than academic literature, and that is this vast knowledge in the industry literature, I would say. And this could be white papers, industry reports, trade reports, industry magazines. They all have some information, some knowledge that forms the part of the entire collection of knowledge on a specific topic. So do not underestimate the knowledge that you can find from the industry reports. Yeah. So that is a collection of all the things that I just mentioned. So don't limit yourself only to academic literature, but also consider industrial literature with the same level of rigor. Typical in academia, we consider that academic literature is very important, and if you could try to add any other literature, that is referred to as gray literature. Yeah. And many a times for specific disciplines, gray literature is questionable. You cannot, it is a very strong practice that it should not be used in research. And there are reasons for that. I'm not going to cover that in today's session. But in specific disciplines, knowledge from industry is vital. And if you are in those disciplines, then leverage that knowledge that you have, because don't just consider that the knowledge in academic papers is the only knowledge. So that try to broaden your horizon, try to broaden where you look for resources for doing your research. Because what may end up happening is, if you only focus on academic literature and formulate a problem and go and solve that problem for your research, you may realize that somebody may have already solved that problem in the industry. And the reason why you did not catch that at the start was because you completely ignored the industry literature. So keep that in mind. Another thing that you can also do is look at other knowledge sources. And what could those be? One of the very important knowledge source is podcasts, especially podcasts given by, or the podcast in which the person who is being interviewed is a expert in that field in the industry. So they may have a vision, they may have some practical commercial challenges that they are facing within their business, and they need some solution for that, right? And they do talk about these in many podcasts. So if you're not listening to podcasts in your field, I think this is one thing that you should really start doing. Okay. So listen to podcasts, and many a times the podcast, which is the audio version, will also have the transcript or the text under it. So if you later want to use some of the ideas, you can take these transcripts and see that where they may have mentioned that as an industry we are facing these challenges, or in the future we see this industry going in this direction. We need to look at challenges that face this particular sector, and so on. This knowledge is useful, and you should not ignore this, because this is the real world talking about their real challenges. And more I have seen universities around the globe are now focused on impact based research, where research that is impactful. And how can you demonstrate impact? Your research can be impactful if industry or somebody uses your research and it solves their problem or changes their life. It could be somebody in the society or the community find your research useful, they apply it, and they make a measurable improvement in whatever they were doing. So that kind of impactful research has to happen. Yeah. And for that, considering the commercial, if not commercial, at least practical aspect of your research is very important. So when doing your literature review, consider all these other sources of information that will give you some really good insights. I mean, if you want to take a step further, you could even actually talk to your end customers or end users, right? Those who are maybe using your research once your research is finished. So imagine that you have completed your literature review, you have identified a problem, you have solved the problem, and the solution is ready. Who are the people who are going to use this solution? Have you thought about that? If you haven't thought and you are going to start your literature review, then maybe take a bit of a time and list down. These are the 10 different people or roles. People in these roles will be using my research. That will give you a different perspective to think from their point of view. What is it that they may be wanting, right? One is to think about what they want. Other is to actually go and talk to them and ask them, right? What could be better than directly asking them, see, I'm going to do research in this area and you are currently working in this field. What do you think are the challenges that you're currently facing? And that is one way. The other way would be you formulate some ideas that these are the problems that you think are the problems that you have identified by completing the literature review. What you could do before finalizing the problem that you want to work for your PhD or for your research, get it verified by somebody who is experiencing that problem and get their opinion, get their insights, get their feedback to see whether the problem that you have identified just purely based upon literature review, is that really a problem or not? See, the main purpose of literature review is to find a problem that you can solve. Yeah. So spend good amount of time to formulate a problem that is really a problem. Don't just come up with a problem based upon literature review because somebody has mentioned that in their paper that this needs to be solved. You can take those sources of future research work that is reported in existing literature, but take your time to critically evaluate those suggestions as well. Don't just take them at face value, right? And one of the best way is talk to the end user or the customer who would be using or who is facing that problem. Verify with them. So typically when we do literature review, we limit ourselves only to research papers or, like I said, gray literature. But if you can also involve undertaking qualitative interviews with the end user, you may get a lot of real world practical challenges that industries are facing or companies are facing. And that may validate that the problem that you have identified from literature review is also being verified by the actual users. So by doing this, by taking this approach for formulating a problem, will give you a problem worth solving. Yeah, remember, this is very important. A problem worth solving is much more important than just picking up any problem and solving it. because the effort needed to solve the problem may be the same, but the impact that you will get after solving a very challenging and impactful problem will be much more than solving a problem that probably very has very little impact or not a lot of people care about it. You understand? So keep that in mind. Formulating a problem for your research, for your PhD, is probably the most fundamental and the most important task in your research. So doing this literature review is not, don't just consider it as a task that you have to finish, right? It is the foundation of your research and foundation for the selecting the right problem. Yeah, so it should not be, I think it should be called as a process of formulating a research problem that needs to be solved. And you may get multiple directions when you do your lit review. You will find various different problems to solve. How are you going to select one, right? So that selection, that shortlisting, that screening of products is also equally important. And this is also where you can get experts, external experts, to give their opinion, give their feedback on what they consider as a important research problem that needs to be solved. And in my experience working with industry, what I have noticed is that the problems that we derive by through research, through industry engagement, are much different than that is probably not even discussed in the academic literature. So keep that in mind. The problems that you will arrive by talking to the people who are experiencing that problem, they will give you the first-hand knowledge of what is really bothering them. And if you pick that up and build your research around that, your research is going to be very impactful. Which is why I've done a lot of videos earlier on, if you've seen, which is on industry-based research. And a lot of universities are now understanding the value of industry-based PhD, industry-based research, and they are expecting that you identify a problem that industry is facing at the moment, and you can spend time on solving that problem during that PhD, because then that will be kind of a demand-driven research. So there is a demand for this kind of research, and you are working towards that research in that research direction. So keep that in mind. It is very important to understand the main purpose, of why you are doing a lit review. And if you understand that, you will realize that, oh, now I have a clear picture of why I need to do it. There is a customer here who is facing this problem, facing this challenge. They are looking for a solution, and they're searching how to solve. I have this problem, how can I solve it? And then your research paper comes up, or your blog comes up, or your LinkedIn profile pops up. What do they want? Why are they coming to that resource? Because they are looking for a solution to the problem that they are searching. So your research paper, if it is a research paper, for example, if it's a journal article, if it's a conference paper, whatever it is, keep in mind who are the potential users of that document. First is very straightforward. It is academic users. Other researchers would use, other PhD students may use your document, your paper, but it may also be industry, people from industry. It could be government, government officials who may be looking for a solution. It may be some non-profit organizations who are looking for research that you are doing. So keep that in mind, and the report that you write, the paper that you write, have a section that is dedicated to these different audience, these different readers of your paper. So some journals recommend that you should add a section on industry implications. All right, what is the applications or practical implications of your research? This section is fairly ignored by a lot of authors, because they don't know what to write or how to write or what is the importance of writing this section. But this is the most important section, because it opens up your research to non-academic readers, and there may be a lot of opportunities that can generate for you with this kind of approach. Yeah, so keep that in mind. If if you have already written a journal paper and you're listening to this talk after that, what you can do then is take your journal article and write the main things, findings, the problem, basically why you have done the research, what is the problem that you are addressing, and who will benefit from this, what is the solution that you have developed, and how this can be used. Make a very simple explanation of your research, maybe just 1 page document. And at the end, you can say, for more information, refer to my complete paper. But that 1 pager should be targeted or should be aimed for non-academic users, like these ones that I mentioned from industry, government, non-profit organizations, and so on. And that 1 pager, you can put it on LinkedIn, like you can write an article on LinkedIn, or you could have a blog either on WordPress or Medium or any other blogging tool somewhere, or on your university website, or a profile page, somewhere where you can share this research in a very simple, easy to understand language. This is very important, and if you do that, you will realize that your research is getting more interest from people, from companies, because they can understand. See, nobody from the industry is going to read a journal paper or a conference paper. Firstly, because they probably do not have access to the databases where all these paid journals and conferences are there, right? And secondly, they don't have time, and the language that is used in academic journals or conferences that we're used to is very different. It is not what the industry is used to. So they want really sharp, to the point articles or reports that they can quickly read, glance, and apply. So that aspect you should bring to your research, to get that, the knowledge, get that awareness about your research in academia, in industry. So do that. If you do not have a LinkedIn, if you do not have a blog, then maybe this is the time to do that. And whatever you have done, research you have done, whatever, this even applies to students who are doing their bachelor's or master's, right? During your whole degree, you may be submitting so many assignments. Where are these assignments right now? Yeah, they may be just, once you submit it to your lecturer, they are examined, and then they may be just lying in your with you, right? They are not getting that exposure that they can get. And if you can tailor your or tweak your assignments a little bit, doesn't have to be you have to put the complete assignment online. You can put just some a snapshot of it, or maybe like a extended summary or executive summary with some key findings. Make it short, snappy, and design it in some designing tool, like maybe use Canva or something else, which will make that assignment look very professional and catchy. And it will not look like an assignment. Basically, it should start looking like a report. It should start looking like this is something of value that somebody can benefit from. So if you have a lot of assignments from your undergrad and postgrad degrees, it is maybe the time to kind of bring it out and spend some time. It won't take long. And these days, with using generative AI, you can even get some structure and ideas of how you can make this into a nice industry focused research report, or just an industry point of view article. So do that. Try and get your research, get more awareness, get it to more people, so people can understand and know that you are the expert in this area, right? That is what we in the end want. We want to be known for something that we are good at. And what is the best way to do it is, you have to be proactive. You have to be out there in media, online, to tell people that this is what I can do, this is what I have done, come read my research reports, come read this. And if you have any where you think I can help, then you are creating an opportunity for yourself by doing that. Okay, so keep this in mind. It is very important to understand the why of doing the literature review. And once you have this understanding, I hope this video would help you to kind of understand the why. And if you have understood it, and if you think it is helpful for others who are maybe your colleagues doing their PhD, or the others who may be doing their assignments where you have to do a review. Share this video with them, because let them also learn the basics, the bigger picture of why a literature review is done in this whenever we begin a research project. Okay, so that is all in for today's video. I hope you find this useful. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. And remember, the bigger picture of literature review is to finding a problem worth solving. Yeah, keep that in mind. Take this line with you: problem worth solving. And literature review is the way to do that. Doing a proper literature review is the way to do this. That is to find the problem worth solving. All right, that's all for today. Have a good evening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.